Welcome, everybody, to another Workshop Wednesday. We're going to discuss a few things, including the launch of our community forum, which is really exciting for the purpose of community development, as we've discussed in these workshops for the past several months. It's a very collaborative initiative, so we're always working together and building our community structures and processes, evolving them and really improving the quality of experience overall, and focused on health and success for each and every contributor. That's our goal for the community forum, as well as generally. We'll get into that a little bit later. We usually start these meetings with an open floor. If anyone wants to join the panel we have, you could speak or share your screen. But if you just want to share questions in the chat or the Q&A feature at the bottom, you can do so. Feel free to just listen along. And we invite anybody to introduce themselves and projects in our ecosystem. If you have updates or you'd just like to share information that you find helpful, go right ahead. If not, we can keep moving, but I'd just like to keep it open, and we'll make this a practice we use every week. So you know, if you have an update, there's a place for you to share it synchronously on the call with the community. So I'll open it up again, just give a pause for a few more seconds if anyone would like to jump in. Going once, going twice. Okay, well, hopefully we get more contributors involved that way. I feel like it's a useful opportunity for anyone who's coordinating projects, but we could maybe shift around the agenda if it's not helping out. If people aren't wanting to share in these meetings, we can just dive right in. The next topic on the agenda is how to use the Aptos community forum. So got this Miro board, and I'm going to give a quick tour of the forum, and then we're going to brainstorm ideas for how to use it. And then for the second half of the call, we're going to focus on the community voting process. Oh, the link is broken. Let me see here. Sorry about that. There it is. So it's in the chat. If people join later, they won't be able to see it. So once we dive in, if anyone notices people asking for the link, please share. We have a box from a couple weeks ago. To the left, you'll see the results of our asynchronous workshop Wednesday, which is pretty cool. And then we can delve into the box on the right for this week and just throw sticky notes with ideas about how we might use the forum as I'm going through the demo. So I'm going to share my screen. Here is the forum. So if you aren't familiar with Discourse, it's a fully open source communication platform that is already integrated with our community platform, where you will register for the incentivized testnets. And so that means it's the same ID. Your ID on the community platform is the same as your ID here on the forum. And we have unique ways to leverage that connection. But generally, Discourse is a great tool for building communities. It's optimized for the quality of discussions and engagement, being really productive. It's also helpful to keep content organized, whereas Discord has a problem with lost content. So great answers provided by our team and others in the community are often lost in the abyss of Discord. And the forum gives a much more visible or discoverable way to share knowledge. And it's searchable. and it's easily linkable. So you can share links on Discord if you want, or you can tweet a link to the forum, and it won't require people to log in before viewing, like Discord. So that's a quick summary of why the forum. There's a lot of opportunities, and it's evolving. So we're just getting started, and I want to go through the 5 categories you see here. We have this staff category you can see now, but this isn't open to the public. So we have our suggestions category, which is a place to gather feedback, like we have on Discord and a suggestions channel. And you'll notice these map directly to the channels in our community section of Discord. And I think we have a lot of productive discussions there, which can move to the forum once we launch. So suggestions are just any ideas for improving our ecosystem, and community feedback is always crucial. So that's a great place to share. And we also have an education category, which is about learning. So that's where I'd love to see content development happening, both from a more inquisitive standpoint, where good questions are being asked, where answers are easily discovered and referenced later, which builds up to the documentation improvements that we'd love to see as well. So this education category is a great place for less technical discussions about the basics, that could go into the documentation, along with just better understanding overall. So it doesn't have to be non-technical, just wanting to differentiate our technical docs from this education category. It's really intended for everyone. And instead of managing our knowledge, aggregating resources and sharing them with the community, it's more about learning together, and we're actually activating our community to mobilize the collective intelligence we all have. And I think we can explore this further. I would love to see the Aptos Academy proposal brought forth by Stefan in collaboration with the coordinators, and explore that further in the resources or in the general education category. So the resources subcategory you see here is made to facilitate content development after good questions are answered. So we can come up with ideas for, Move 101 as a topic. Well, what does that mean? There's probably 1,000 different topics within Move to explore, at least 1,000. So how do we break that down? How do we understand the resources provided already? How do we improve them? Not only documentation, but thinking about educational opportunities in a more participatory context, or more active role for educators and students. So we're inviting academics, researchers, and teachers to help build the learning resources. And so I think this category is a big opportunity for involvement. We also have this development category, which definitely overlaps with GitHub. So the idea here is, if it's related to the code, then it should go on GitHub, create an issue, submit a pull request. That's the best way to contribute in terms of development within the context of Aptos, as a framework, the Aptos core repository. So if it's outside of protocol or, network contributions, then you can discuss here. Maybe this would be a great place to share projects, but we also have, you'll see below, the projects category for that. So if you have specific questions about your project, if you're building a wallet, going to this forum category is a better place to ask for many questions compared to Discord, where the answers get lost and we get the same questions over and over. And this way it will facilitate coordination around standards being developed on GitHub. And you'll see, the moves category is really just a playground for exploring the language, and every little, intricacy of move will be discussed here to facilitate learning, building, and evolving together as we, bring move to the people, to everyone. So it's crazy to see how much adoption we have gained in just the past few months. Move is gaining a lot of momentum, so can't wait to see what emerges from this subcategory about Move. But generally, the development category is about technical issues, questions, anything that doesn't need to go on GitHub, because it would be better discussed in this long form, this environment where it's a lot more discussion based than code oriented. So hopefully that makes sense. The development category will be continuously improved. We're interested in how to leverage badges that feed into a reputation system for accounts, and we have this idea of a developer account. So it's kind of like if you're deploying, or if you're creating Move modules on DevNet, you have an account that can be designated as a developer account. And there's a way to leverage Move on chain to build reputation systems for that purpose of guided exploration, experimentation, and the overall development. So yeah, that's the explanation there. Projects are generally for anything you'd like to share. We have what our friend Max calls the projects project. So if we dive into that category, you'll see a little blurb hinting at what's next for the community platform. And in the meantime, we have this projects category. So anybody could jump in here and share a project with our community to get feedback, but also to connect with contributors and really establish yourself in the overall ecosystem. And that will help legitimize your project as we're unfurling the community platform ecosystem page. And finally, we have the node operations category. So apologies if I missed any questions thus far. I'll just go through this last one and then jump back over. But node operations, it's really just anything about nodes. We have the AIT2 community voting subcategory here, and I'll dive into that later. But first, we're just gonna zoom back out, spend the next 10, 15 minutes or maybe more brainstorming ideas, ways to use the forum. You can see the domain has been leaked, so you can check it out. Let us know any issues, feedback, in the suggestions channel, this category. It would be great to get things going there. Really excited about education development, and I'm curious to see what projects emerge, and then we'll dive into this node operations category shortly. So with that, I'll jump back in to see if there's any questions. Yes, I agree, Peter. I've got a lot of experience, spent many days of my life on a forum like this, and it's crucial for engagement, advocacy, and coordination, because it's going to be increasingly difficult for everyone to stay connected and work together as an overall ecosystem of communities, plural, and the forum brings it all together in a global community. Cool. I'm checking out your note here, Pavel, you would like to participate in education projects in the Russian language. So brings up an important topic of localization. We are using a translation service, and we have different approaches to consider for that goal, which is to increase accessibility in every language. So, I think education specifically in the Russian language is kind of like a combination. I would recommend looking into and happy to discuss offline after this how we manage our translations. But that to me is a separate initiative from education, because it's easier to think about education holistically and then translate whatever is produced. If there are differences in the language-based communities which require some, variety in educational content, that's good to know. I would be curious to learn. But for now, I just want to make sure we compartmentalize education and translations. But that's a great point. I'm really glad you're interested, and let's chat more. I'm just making sure. I think we covered all the questions. Thanks for the comment on my cap. Shout out to the Durham Bulls. Best minor league baseball team ever. And we'll dive right back in, see what's happening on the Miro. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. So it's all right if we don't have any sticky notes yet. I'm just wondering if anybody has thoughts they would like to voice now on the call, or if you have any sticky notes. I don't see many people in here. Did the link end up working? And let me try again. Here's the link. Maybe worth sharing on Discord as well. Cool. Any thoughts? We can maximize by spending time on the community voting phase if that's what everyone is curious to learn. Oh, I see Matthew. Raise your hand.
Hey guys, nice to see you all here.
Hey. Did you have some feedback? I would love to hear what you think.
Probably I'm trying to log in to forum and just try to explore it, but there's some kind of issue with login via Discord.
I see. Okay, we are working through some of the login challenges because it is connected to the community platform, so there's a bit of complexity there. We can resolve that. Just wanted to give a sneak peek here, so appreciate your patience. There will be a blog post as well that has a bunch of updates from the past few months, including this new platform, and the community voting phase is a call to action there. So once the blog post is live, you'll know that we've fixed all the little bugs with the registration. Any other comments? I'd love to hear more. I mean, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. There's lots to discuss. I'm happy to just move along though, if that's what you prefer. Cool. So let's dive back in here. I mean, let me just do, since we have time, we'll do like a brief little tour, so you can read the current descriptions of the categories. You'll notice we're referencing this work in progress Aptos improvement proposals repository. And so this is a great way to make a suggestion and then gather feedback on it. And you can vote, you can upvote by liking the posts. Or, we could even implement like a upvote system, but it's pretty much the same thing for. So it's like this post has a vote as an example. I don't know why, but we'll fix that. So this is the suggestions category. You can look through. You can make public recommendations, share updates for accountability if you're working on a project, or if you wanted to suggest an improvement that you need. So hey, I'm working on this wallet and I need this or that to make something happen. You let us know in the suggestions category. It helps to inform decision making, and you can also vote. That's crucial. Go through the education category. We have asking, or just bringing together, aggregating generative questions. I like that word a lot. You might hear me say it too much, but what I mean by generative is 4 capabilities. And it's funny to think about a question being capable of something, but if you follow, then questions that are generative are capable of self-sustainability, self-improvement, self-propagation, and self-evolution. So that self prefix means it's all happening kind of on its own. And we can go further and talk about regenerative capabilities, which mean it happens by nature, but that's another story. The point here is to say good questions are synonymous with generative questions. So generative questions stick around and they generate new questions and really important answers. So we have, a bunch of these undiscovered generative questions that are floating out there in Discord and other places. And I want to start organizing them as we have been doing in various documents, and it's just not public in a good way. We have FAQ, we have documentation, but as far as the questions that don't make it into the guides or tutorials and the other documentation, how can we ask and answer them here to build content around the overall experience, to facilitate onboarding so people can learn, build, and grow with Aptos. And you might even create a wiki, an editable post here. And this is a great way to develop content plans. So when we're thinking about Aptos Academy, let's get in here, figure out what is really important. What should people know about Aptos, and how should we tell them? How should we reward them for? It's kind of like the typical example there is certification, but I think what we're interested in doing is more flexible. It's like a more ongoing process, harkening back to the reputation system I mentioned earlier. So it's not only for developers, but you might have an account where you're learning, and so you can prove that you know some stuff about Aptos, and that's worth knowing about your contributor profile. And so we can find people who help others learn, not just people who help others build or set up nodes. And so that's the education category. Speak up at any point, interrupt me if you have questions. Yeah, what's up?
Yes, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Also, we have one question in the section questions and answers.
I see.
And I think people need to jump into the Aptos forum and understand how it works. And we need a little bit more time to understand how might we use the Aptos forum. And
Sure.
then we can write, then we will write some proposals and some ideas in Miro platform.
Sure, absolutely. I think we have time, and it's just meant to get you thinking about ways to use the forum. And I'm going through a tour just to introduce our current structure and the processes like adding projects or voting on AIT2 validator profiles. We'll go into that soon. But just to quickly answer your question here, not all support and discussion will be through the forum. So Discord is great for real-time discussion, and you can link to forum posts on Discord. If there's a need for a really long post on Discord, that's the rule of thumb. It's kind of like if something is becoming more of a discussion on its own that could live and be referenced later, if it's something where like, hey, I've been getting asked the same question over and over again, and there's a pretty solid answer, you could just share a link to a forum post instead of typing the answer again. That's like a really basic way to use the forum. We will also have integrations with Discord. So if there's a post in the wallet subcategory on the forum, it would show up in the wallet dev discussion channel. So there's a lot of different ways we can connect Discord with the forum. There's a few reasons why the forum is the most legit place for anything to be decided. So it's about discussions more than support. So will all support go through the forum? Definitely not. Will all discussions go through the forum? No, of course, we'll have discussions everywhere, but I think the forum will be a very important place for discussions, especially if we want to think about how to legitimize our decisions with community feedback. So that means if it's just one group making decisions privately, fine, but we can improve by opening that system and involving more organizations, more groups, more individuals, and the overall community. So long-winded answer, I'm just trying to say no, it's not, we're going to replace anything. It's really meant for long-form discussions that can be referenced later. So just think about it, how it's frustrating. The only place you can get access to Discord content is on Discord. So like if you have a link to your answer, I noticed, Pixel 32 has answered a bunch of questions in the node support channel. If somebody on Twitter was like, hey, I'm having this problem, you basically would just have to say, oh, I answered that already on Discord. Here's the answer. You copy it over to Twitter, which isn't great. Or you link them to Discord and they have to find the channel after either signing up for Discord if they didn't have Discord, or joining ours and getting all set up there. So it's just a pain to invite people to Discord if they just want to read something. Of course, we want them to join Discord and get involved there, but I think that will become less important as well, as the value and quality of participation via the forum is expected to be much higher, much better. So that's my experience. Discord is great for support. I think that's kind of bread and butter, but where the team discusses major topics and we make decisions together, learn, build, and grow together, that's a forum goal. I think we're trying to get people into a more organized and productive conversation platform while maintaining support systems and real-time discussion. And yeah, I definitely love Discord as well, but I've just had a bunch of experience with both, and we'll continue to clarify how each will be used. But yeah, like Pavel said, it's going to take time. One way to think about it is what you write on the forum, which kind of like matters more because it's there and like it's a topic, or it's not just like a conversation on Discord. It's kind of like a contribution, if that makes more sense. Like they're much more useful contributions, perhaps at a fault, like we really don't mean to say that the contributions on Discord aren't as valuable, but it's just by the fact of being on the forum, it's more accessible and more useful to the community. So that's why we're encouraging people to use the forum for pretty much anything that needs to be referenced later. Does that make sense? It's a great question. Super interesting point to make about, differences and overlap between those platforms. I'm excited to unleash the forum and integrate with Discord so it becomes clearer how it should be used. Cool. Thank you for asking. And I think that's a good transition to dive into the AIT2 community voting phase. Let me know if there's any other questions or comments about the first section here. Let me see if there's any. Oh yeah, we got a few sticky notes. This is great. We can even double up and make this the topic for next week, but really want to spend time on the community voting phase. So yeah, keep creating these sticky notes and we will review. Thank you very much, Ryan. Nice, Matthew. And cool. Let's dive into the next part, unless anyone has thoughts now.
I think a lot of people are interested in the community voting process.
I'm glad. Yes, this is going to be very helpful to us because we can't know everything, right? We never will, but this lets us know more. So you can help us by letting us know more about your nodes, and the community can help us by letting us know which nodes they find qualified. So this is the general category description. So you can see we have just kind of like an overall walkthrough. And then if you want to jump into the community voting for AIT validator selection post, within, this is the description for the AIT2 community voting subcategory. And it's really simple, super simple. So I'm going to walk through it once, pause for questions, and then we'll go back through it, make sure everybody understands. There's two ways to participate, two different kinds of participants: community members and then potential validators. So for community members, it's really straightforward. All you got to do is you check this category. You can even just go to the overall node operations category, because that shows all the posts. But we will be filtering because this category is special. Only verified nodes can post here. So once you get registered, you can come into this AIT community voting subcategory and create your validator profile. So first off, just completing the first pathway. If you are not trying to be a validator on testnet, the way to participate is just go check it out and upvote posts. That's it. So you read them, you make sure they seem like qualified node operators to be validators on our testnet, and use, what criteria you think are important for mainnet validators as a guide. So it's different, there are differences in how we're selecting validators, but ultimately the the guidance is the same, derived from the main goal to prepare this community for mainnet launch. So think about it as, what criteria do you think are important, and based on those criteria, which validators are you going to vote? And you can vote on multiple profiles. You can, try to say, here's why I think this is a good validator or a bad one. This is helpful. So you could even reply asking questions. You can, spark discussions, wanting to learn more about the validator, or maybe commenting on what you think is really good about their validating. Maybe it's something where you want to highlight how they contribute in the community outside of just running a node. You want to say, look, I care a lot about validators' involvement with our community, and so you highlight a few just by voting and even potentially replying to the posts. So that's supposed to be like really simple. It's just going to be pretty obvious. You go in and you vote on the validators you'd like to see in the AIT2 validator set. More complex, I'll stop there. Does anyone have questions about how to participate in the voting? I'll go through, it's really simple. You can think of this as an example of a post that you would see, and then you just come down here and you upvote, and we'll probably introduce that voting plugin just right after this. But it's just a matter of UI. So you can either upvote with different emojis, or you can just vote like you would have on that other post I showed. Does that make sense? Any questions? I think if I could.
I think in future at this forum will be Aptos profiles.
Right. So it's hard to. We probably need to get a few profiles and test it out. We've done so, but we don't have them public now. So we got rid of them, but it's not like a really complicated process. Main thing is just understanding that it's just upvoting. It's not the final decision. And if you get a bunch of votes from questionable accounts, that's not a good look. Just so you know, getting votes from reputable accounts is a good look. So, of course, that is a subjective criteria of, what do you think is a reputable account? Who is a reputable contributor? But I think, we have a good amount of information about profiles, considering this ID system is connected to the community platform. And so it's pretty easy to filter out bot-driven voting. And you can also think about how if the number of votes just seems out of whack, it doesn't just automatically mean you're gonna get a spot. It's sort of the worst case scenario being that we have, however many nodes are registered, 6,000 something at this point, 6,500 or so. We could have 6,500 posts, right? And then everyone has to go through them all. And so that's the scale we're talking about. We're not expecting people to read every post. It's more about, do you have a community? Do you have people who support your validator, which is a very interesting metric, because how many people are willing to upvote? You could share it around our community, your community, and we just want to see who's upvoting your validator profile. So it's all outlined in the blog post, and this is the first iteration of the guide. So the community members pathway is really meant to be like as simple and straightforward as possible, very intuitive. And so maybe it's worth moving to the more complicated process for the potential validators, which is also very simple. You're allowed to post in this category, like I said, if you have already registered a node. And this is just the guide to participate in testnet. So we're just making sure if you get here, then you know where to go. If you don't have a node already registered, you can't post. But if you are, this is all you need to know. There's 2 steps. So the first step is to create your profile. And we have this template here. It's very flexible. And that means you can create your own template if you want. Share whatever you think is valuable. Here's our guidelines. And we want you to use this prefix so it helps with finding posts. You can also, please also use the AIT tag. So just, in the title of your post, put AIT2 in brackets and then the name of your validator. It can be your name, it can be your organization. And then reply here on this post. So you'd come right here, you click reply, and you're supposed to see, if you saw that, when you click reply, it has like a little, I didn't this one, but it's reply below with the link to your new thread along with a quick introduction. So you make your post, taking a step back. Step 1, you go in here. I've already thought about a few ways to improve this. So thank you for listening. So you go in here, you don't have to do it here. You can set up a topic anywhere. But you just click this new topic button and this window pops up. You want to make sure that you're in this category, AIT2 community voting. And then you would write AIT2, then, Apto not. That's where you would put in your profile. So you say, I'm a good validator. So I also want to include this AIT tag, and even probably I want to include an AIT2. Just make sure we cover that. That either one works, and these profiles are useful going forward. So it's not just for AIT2. And that's the way you complete step 1. Create the topic, and you'll see a post here in the AIT2 voting category. Just to like clarify, you can click this anywhere, and you just have to go in here and find the right category. So that's step 1. And then step 2 is you come here and you reply. And so you would say whatever you'd like to say. The suggestion is a quick introduction. So that could also just be like, I'm a good validator. And then the link to your post. Blah, blah, blah. So you link to your forum post. If you do it like this, if you do it on a separate line, you can see it does a little preview. So that's helpful. So you don't even really need to write a quick intro if that's how your post already starts. Less is more for these. It's really just a way to aggregate links to all of the profiles, and we can even have voting here in the thread. So that would just be in the form of upvoting replies. But of course, I would encourage everyone to use the main process of voting on the profile itself. But yeah, it's helpful to see all of the profiles in one place. If we start to get thousands of them on this thread, that would be amazing. So I don't really expect thousands, but it's really meant to identify significant contributors and qualified node operators where our processes have failed to identify them. So of course, there's a remaining blind spot of people who are registered and don't go through this process, who are not measured, not like the framing is like, well, we don't want to be just rewarding people who are the loudest or like the most active, if their noise and like if their activities aren't as meaningful or valuable or important, contributing to the quality of experience and health overall. So the idea is, we don't want to over-index for that. So the challenge is, how do we get people who are quiet to go through this process? That's the main challenge. But the benefit, the new opportunity provided here is, whereas before you didn't really have a way to call attention to your validator and say, look at me, I'm a great validator. Now you can say, here's why I'm a great fit. Here's why I'm a good candidate for AIT2 and beyond. So, that's something where you would have had to share on Discord. I get a lot of people reaching out saying, how do I increase my chances? Here's how. So this is your opportunity to share more about your node, its operations, and your experience, your skills, your goals. Alignment with protocol success is one of the criteria, along with geographic distribution, according to the hosting provider, not your location. But we're also thinking about how to grow a community around the world. So that's important. I would also emphasize technical competency, which includes your hardware. So we have certain requirements there you can review in the documentation. And then reputation is the most subjective. I think that's where a lot of these discussions will hopefully result in better understanding of what we all mean by that, and what is the reputation of a validator who is active on the forum. How does that play into the decision-making process? Because commitment is a big factor, with validators, especially in the test phase, right? Like mainnet might be a different ball game. However, in the test phase, we need people who are responsive and really motivated to help with testing. And we're testing our staking framework. So there's going to be a lot of action. And so we need people who are there, who are, ready and willing to commit. So I'll stop there. We have a few minutes left. This is.
Excuse me, did I interrupt you? We have some interesting questions in the chat. I think by my point of view, there are a lot of interesting.
A lot of interesting what?
Questions, yes.
Yeah, very interesting. So let me go back to the beginning here. How do we plan to filter bots and multi-account users? Once again, if you think that you're going to get ahead by number of votes, then you're mistaken. So my only concern is that we have a bunch of low quality validator profiles that make it harder to find the good ones. And so then it's more of a popularity contest rather than a community voting phase. But in terms of, the popularity contest being the main factor, it's not. So if you get a bunch of votes, then, we're gonna have to consider that, if you have a bunch of votes, you'll show up on a list and it could go against you. So it could ruin your chances, honestly, if you are farming, if you're, manipulating results. That's clearly stated in our terms and conditions in the blog posts. But it's a great question. I mean, it's sort of like the big question is, who's gonna do that? So I mean, we want to find out if you're gonna do that. So try, please. We have like amazing engineers who are not messing around. So like we're looking into all the data, right? And none of the rewards have been distributed. So be careful and don't waste your time. That's my best answer there. It'll be interesting to see. I think it's a great question. I mean, I think the community voting with your on-chain account is a solution, because maybe it's easier to gauge your on-chain reputation or something that would indicate you're actually human. It's very interesting. So we'll keep discussing that. And I want to see if it emerges as a problem. Might be a good problem to have, honestly. That's better left unsaid. Apologies. I'm asking for it. But there is no limit on how many validators you can upvote. You can upvote any validator you choose. You should only vote once, right? This is the idea. If you want to create a few extra accounts and you're not going too far and you're just voting a few times, you know, I don't think that's going to play into the decision as much as the quality of your post. So it's kind of just a signaling mechanism, and it's easy to filter out based on the disparity between the number of votes and the quality of the post. Like, we're not going to just accept a low quality validator because they get a lot of votes by any means. Like, that's the first step in the process, is just filtering all of the validator profiles based on the number of votes and, you know, discussion there. So it's a great question. Again, just vote once per validator, but you can vote for as many validators as you'd like. And yeah, I mean, if you create multiple accounts on the forum, you have to create multiple accounts on the community platform, which is not a good idea. We're looking for that. So how can you propose yourself? That's the process for any validator. So it's the same. You can propose other validators. That wasn't mentioned, but it's not really encouraged. So if you want to propose yourself, you just simply create a validator profile in the community voting subcategory. You will only be able to do that if you've already registered a node, and create your validator profile as you see fit. You know, look at the template and fill it out. The more information, useful information that you can provide, the better, you know. So hopefully that process is clear. And good question. I see your hand also, Pavel. I'm going to quickly address this one and the next one, and then we'll get to you. And so the validator name, maybe you had to go, but sorry. It could be anything. You know, this is just how we should refer to your validator. So you can call it whatever. Thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate you adding sticky notes and being here. The deadline to propose and the deadline for voting. So, I mean, sooner the better, right? So the deadline for proposing, you won't be able to get as many votes if you propose a day before selection, right? Which happens July 11th, next Monday. So I would say, you know, get your proposal up this week if you can. This is meant to be game time. So you're trying to be a validator on our network. Maybe we have some really important governance decision to make, and we need everybody on the forum stat. We need you to weigh in. So you got to be ready to share information about what you're doing. And it is a bit short notice, but that's how things operate in a blockchain environment. So partially intended to test your responsiveness and your ability to campaign for a validator node and get support from the community and show off your community, bring them to Aptos, and we'll consider that. We're not just gonna turn away somebody who has a bunch of votes if we don't recognize the voters. We'll look at the quality of the post for sure. And the deadline for voting is the same. It's right before selection is but the sooner the better, because we're constantly evaluating. We have like our list. It's a working list of validators, right? We're building the list according to the criteria, and so the sooner the better. But ultimately, the deadline is the 11th. But keep in mind that that's the weekend. We'll have Monday to review as a team. Of course, lots of people work on the weekends, but you can't anticipate much activity over the weekend. So I would say get it done in the next day. And there will be more profiles over time. So the voting, I think one thing to keep in mind here is these aren't just for AIT2. We've talked about using the process for AIT3, and your participation going forward matters for the mainnet validator selection, and that's a lot of extra incentive to create a good profile. So it's informing the decision making for next phases, and so the voting can continue after the selection. Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking. And I know somebody had a raised hand. They might have had to drop. Unfortunately, I should have gone to them quicker. But so for now, we're in bootstrap mode. Peter, once we launch, there will be a more streamlined process so you can get access. But for now, it's kind of locked down. But no worries on that front. We'll adjust it once we're live. And then this question from Paulo. Yeah, its username would be great. I think that's a great point. I didn't even think about it as username, but otherwise we have your connection to the username via the forum ID and the community platform ID as the same ID. But yeah, maybe that's the best way to do it, is use your username or whatever you put into the community platform representing your validator. It's pretty flexible though, and we can figure it out if you don't use the right name. It's a balance maybe of like how you want to represent yourself to the community, and if you want consistency to make our lives easier. What's up, Pavel?
James, I'm trying to make a profile on Aptos forum, but I made a profile for IT2 registration with my name and surname, Pavel Smolin. How may I add or change it for IT2 and my node name? May I put it in about me?
So I'm a bit confused. I think your validator name in the template, right? In the post you're gonna make. So you'd make a post, right? And you'd say IT2. And you'd say
sorry. I understand.
Yeah, and then you can create your profile. It's confusing. You're right. I think I understand what you mean. So
thank you.
There is a profile here. So this can have more information, but it doesn't really have much on it. So don't worry about your forum profile. just
Thank
create
you.
your community platform account, and then your validator profile. It's maybe confusing to call it a profile, but it's a post. It's like a new topic is what they call it on Discourse. And it, so we'll just do example, why pick my validator. I'm going to get the template. Any other questions? I know we've gone a few minutes over. I just wanted to say thanks again to everybody for being here. Looking forward to seeing what happens with the community voting phase and beyond. So keep up the great work. Let us know any ideas or questions. And yeah, I think that covers it. Any last thoughts?
And
All
let
right.
the Aptos bless you with infinite rewards.
I don't know if infinite rewards are the goal. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, the living forever ideas, like the, you know, I don't know, what was that guy? King Midas is what I think about. Cool. I'm just going to create this here as an example. Feel free to drop off. I'm just messing around. We'll do an example. So you can see when there's a post, there's the voting. So then I would take this here, go to this. Boom. And yeah, I guess. Yay. Cool. Thank you, everybody. We will review the applications. It's impossible to review all 6,000 in a detailed, rigorous way. So there is a process, you know.
No. I mean for the upvotes via forum.
Yeah, so the idea is that if we get all 6,500 nodes creating a profile, then it'll be the same as if we tried to review all 6,500 registrations, plus, you know, a lot more information, like multiplied by how much information is in all the forum profiles, the validator profiles. So that's the control is like, well, if we get 1,000, you know, 20 some, if we get, you know, almost 20% of them, that's something where, yeah, we can probably read them all quickly, you know. I'm just, like, this is literally just speaking about capacity. If we had unlimited people, then yeah, we could review them all. But we just have our team. That's the question. If we're talking about the community, yeah, I hope we review them all. That's the reason to make it open. But, you know, as it whittles down, especially informed by the signals of upvoting, so we can see, all right, well, if you're involved in the community already, then you should have a better chance of getting upvotes. But, you know, the upvotes might turn into a fiasco. The main thing is that we will review and make sure that we have as much information as needed to make our decision. So if we get that problem, I would love to have it. I would love to be sifting through, you know, hundreds and hundreds of these profiles. Bring it on. Like, I would love that. And we will review them for sure. But the signaling mechanism is where I'm thinking of, you know, how we make it easier for ourselves. Like, if you get some votes, then maybe others vote, and then the best validators rise to the top. And it's, I mean, if we see people, like, you know, voting on worse validators, maybe that's just because of something we didn't see in the post, or it's worth considering. It's very subjective always, and it's going to be an experiment. So we'll learn from the problems that emerge. I'd say the bigger risk is, well, nobody understands how to do it. I don't expect to get too many. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that if we get that problem, we can handle it because of the limited number of eligible nodes. But I don't expect to have that problem, and every intention, and our team is intending to review according to this process. It's going to be different, right? Like, it's completely different than AIT1. So I think people are expecting whatever they're expecting based on previous experience. But it's going to be a tough decision, but it's more about the margins. It's like, okay, well, we have a solid group of contributors in the community that we want to recognize. We have a solid group of partners who are interested in running nodes, not only on testnet. We have others who are interested in proving themselves and have a lot of experience and build their own reputation within our ecosystem and beyond, like in the blockchain space overall. So, the idea is we find the best because we're doing this together. That's the hope, and it's not all on us. Yeah,
I have some ideas for the next big brain meme, so need to think about it.
Okay, yeah, let us know. I'm definitely open to suggestions, and we can improve this. Every day. So just let me know. Thank you for being here.
I will start conversation in the forum about the mematon that's ongoing, because I see that quality goes better and better every time.
Yeah, I do think that we're finding our meme inspiration.
Meme commander.
Yeah. So let me see this question. I see you still have a hand raised, Pavel. When can you make the post about your validator on the forum? Soon. I might even be already announced since we started this call, but this afternoon, today, we'll have the blog post and everything will go live. I think you should be able to do it already if you registered a node. Yeah. Any other questions? Pablo, I see your hand raised. Is that?
Yeah, James, I'm trying to create a new topic, but I think that I don't have rights to make it.
Did you register a node?
Yes.
And it's already connected? You already completed registration?
Yes, I made it a few days ago, about 2 days ago.
Okay, so you're having trouble. You're creating a post. It might be just and shifted away because you see we're in bootstrap mode. It might be because of that.
I don't have a new topic button.
Oh, wait, did you sign up? Did you log in?
Yes, I see my profile.
Okay, well then, I think it's just because we're in bootstrap mode. I'll look into that right now. I mean, we've got to make sure it's all good. That's the last stuff we're just like messing around with some of the finicky like transition details. So apologies for that. We'll make sure it's clear. That the group you can see here is, I guess, just it's temporary. It's maybe not even like I don't see your account here. So, but yeah, you're here. So then you're fine. You should have access, but it's just because of the bootstrap mode. So yes, this is cool. We can see already that 15 people, 16 people now who are successfully registered have joined the forum. And once we go live with the blog post, you will be able to post in this category. Sorry about that. We were trying to get the blog post out before this meeting, but should be soon.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? All right. Well, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, whatever time it is. Maybe it's the rest of your night. GM regardless, and talk soon.